What's up, guys? SAG here, and welcome to another video here in College Football Spread Talk. Had an interesting day yesterday. We got a new slate of games today for Friday night after we opened the college season last night and had some nice picks. But before we get started for today's slate, let's take a look at how we did yesterday. And first, we're going to start with our avoid picks. We somehow went 2-0 as Tennessee dominated against Ball State, and I mean dominated that game. Missouri, they ended up beating Louisiana Tech by a pretty big margin over the 19 mark. So we went 2-0. They scored 52 points on Louisiana Tech and just dominated that game. Then in our average picks, we went 3-0-1. Now I put a tie, even though technically I did take Pittsburgh minus 7.5. There's a reason why I told you guys to scrape the point, because I felt like this could be a touchdown game. And what did it turn out to be? A touchdown game. So hopefully you guys listen to me and try to get it to 7 or 6.5 so you can make some cash. So I'm gonna call that a push because I said I prefer scrap a point, guys. Sometimes when you add these margins of 4 or 3 or 7, scrap a point, because the 3, 4, and 7 are very reasonable scores in football. So if you can get this number at a 2.5, it's perfect. Or even a 5.5, you got it. But if you pull over 7, now you're telling it it's a 2-possession game now. Just scrap that point. It makes the world of difference. In other picks, Wake Forest dominated against VMI. Arizona State absolutely dominated against Northern Arizona. Played a fantastic game. And what was a pretty interesting game, Central Michigan, they were down by up to 36. Man, but I told you that offense was a bit too good. They're going to keep them in the game because they started to pile the points, and they only lost by 14, which means we did get the cover. So we went 3 wins, no losses, and 1 push on the average picks. And in our money picks, we just lost with New Mexico State. Oh, that was so devastating. Only by 1.5 points did we not get a push, and by 2 points did we not get the cover. That's why you watch it, because before it was at 38. You could have possibly got a 38.5, and you get the money. But the line pushes down, we wait, and we lose out. And Penn State minus 2.5. Oh my goodness, that was an absolutely fantastic game if you watched it. Gus Johnson on the call. That Sean Clifford pick had me so nervous. Oh my gosh, had me freaking out. I thought Penn State was easily going to take this game, but Sean Clifford had to find a way to keep him in it, even with the backup quarterback having to come in for a bit. But a great drive late gets them the win and gets them the 2.5. And again, it's important there because, I mean, if it's a 3-point game, I mean, you need the extra half point clipped. Just get the extra half point out, and man, we're taking Penn State all day. If you got them at 2.5, congrats. Even if you got them at 3.5, you won. But hey, it's thin margins. Every point matters in this spread. So overall, not too bad to start off. Obviously, the all-time records here. We only started today. So obviously, these are the records officially. So today I got a pretty good slate for you today. We have 6 games today I'm going to take a look at. No avoid picks today, just to let you know. So if you think you're going to ride on that avoid pick train, I have none for you today. There were some close ones, but I'm not going to pull any avoid picks today. And first, we're going to start with the 7 o'clock game at Spartan Stadium. I was thinking about going to this game possibly. Obviously, I'm Michigan, but I'm more neutral. I like Michigan State a bit as well. So I like both. I know I'm from Windsor. I'm from Canada. Give it a pass. I'm just more of a neutral, but for now, we're still repping the Michigan's hoodie. I think we're going to be repping that for a bit. First, we have Western Michigan traveling to Michigan State, who are nearly 3 touchdown favorites. Right now, it's 20.5. You can probably get around 21. I got a line around 21, which kind of sucks. I want it to be 20.5, but oh well. Even if it's 3 touchdowns, I still get the money back. So let's take a look at why Western Michigan aren't more of underdogs. It's because they have such a good offense in the country. Last year, they were 12th in the offense. They were the 12th ranked offense in the country, and they have a fantastic rushing duo in Sean Taylor and Ladarius Jefferson. But they do lose their QB, Caleb Ellaby, and Sky Moore. And of course, another thing you're going to look at why possibly Western Michigan can win. Like, obviously, they beat Pittsburgh in that shootout of a game. I mean, of course, Michigan State had one of the worst secondaries in the nation. Um, and Western Michigan's defense, they can get into the backfield. They're not too bad. But I don't know. Looking at Michigan State's perspective, their running game is just a bit too good right now. They're more talented than that Western Michigan defensive front. Even though it's good, they're still more talented. And even though Kenneth Walker's gone, they have Jarek Broussard and Jalen Berger, the Colorado and Wisconsin transfers, and they got Payne Thorne and Jaden Reed. Those will be big play candidates. Payne Thorne going into his senior season. They're going to make some big plays. And the Spartans, they have that backfield. They have amazing offensive line. Their defense is absolutely fantastic, other than that secondary, which I think will improve. But I think that weak secondary is not enough to take me off Michigan State, guys. This is a money pick. I'm taking them at minus 20.5. I think the secondary is going to get a lot better this year. And I think their offense is going to put up big numbers against this Western Michigan defense. They're ready this year. Michigan State is legit, guys. They are legit. And I am taking them for a money pick at minus 20.5. I did cash line at 21. I think they win by more than that. But Western Michigan isn't that bad of a team. Maybe they keep themselves in the game. I just don't see it happening. So money pick, guys. Michigan State at minus 20.5. So let's move on to the next game. We have Virginia Tech, who are 6-point favorites, heading into Old Dominion. This line was higher at 8 or 9, but it's gone down. And right now, let's look at possibly why each team will win. First, for Old Dominion, I mean, the Hokies are all new. They're basically starting over. They have a bunch of transfers coming in. They have, obviously, 2 transfers that are battling for that QB job, and Grant Wells and Jason Brown. The O-line needed an overhaul, and they need new parts. And I think Old Dominion can take advantage of it. And their defense, they returned some good guys. Their offense is loaded with experience. They have 10 returning starters. Now they're in the Sun Belt. This isn't that bad of a team. They won 5 of their last 5 games last year to make themselves bowl eligible. So, Old Dominion, there's a reason why they're only 6-point underdogs. I get they're at home, but still, there's a reason why they're only single-digit underdogs. But looking at Virginia Tech, they have the talent. They really do have the talent. They have good linebackers. They have a great secondary. And the production's always going to show up. They're talented-wise. They have the talent. Old Dominion has the experience. But I think for this game, really, I mean, Virginia Tech is going to know they're in for a tough game. They know they're in for a hard game because they're on the road in Old Dominion. They're not at home. They won't be lackadaisical for this game. They know they have something to prove with a new head coach. And right now, the fact that they are only 6-point under favorites tells me a lot. A lot of people are banking on Old Dominion. There's some money flowing on them to upset Virginia Tech. But really here, I think Virginia Tech holds out. The talent's going to show. Give it some time. The talent's going to show. And I could take them to win by more touchdowns because they're going to, after that first or second quarter, they're going to show up. And they're going to show up big time. And I think they're going to take this game by the horns. And they're going to win this game handily by more than one score. And honestly, I love this line at -6. Maybe you can get down to -5.5. To me, it don't even matter because I think it's by a touchdown or more at least. So if you get that line at -6, it's perfect. And it's a money pick for me. I'm taking Virginia Tech -6. The talent is going to show. They're a bigger school. Just like what Penn State had showed, with Virginia Tech, it's going to show even more. Next up, we have the Temple Owls heading to Duke to take on the Duke Blue Devils, who are 8.5-point favorites. This line is shot up for Duke. And let's look at Temple, why they could possibly win this game after they had a rough season last year, being the worst American athletic team. Very interesting. It's the worst team in the American, likely, versus possibly the worst team in the ACC in Duke. And looking at Temple, Stan Drain, their new head coach, he knows how to work that running game, but he does have that passing attack that's pretty solid, as he has former Georgia Bulldog DeJuan Mathis, who's pretty good. He's pretty good at quarterback. He can cause some problems against a Duke secondary that allowed the second most passing yards per game in college football. And the Owl defense, it isn't that bad. They have some pretty good size in secondary, and they had a help from the transfer portal, and hopefully they're going to need some help because their offense has failed to hit 30 points in their last 8 games. So they're going to need some help offensively. And for Duke, I mean, their offensive line is pretty good. they don't have any crazy skill playmakers, but they do have a veteran front five that's fantastic. That the offense can move the ball, and their new head coach Mike Elko, he knows how to run a defense. And before he's taking over a group that was worse than the nation. He doesn't have good linebackers, but he did have the transfer portal to help the secondary, and it should help against the offensive front of Temple. Even though Temple has that offensive size on that O-line, I don't think it's going to help that much on a consistent basis to move the chains. It's not that good. Duke isn't favored by much here. If they were favored by under a touchdown, I'd probably make them a money pick. But because it's 8.5, it's saying it's a 2-possession game. I don't know if I can fully bank on that, but I think Duke is clearly the better team. So I'm going to take them on an average pick here. I'm taking Duke minus 8.5. Temple's just not that good. And that defense will get better with Mike Elko at the helm. Next up, we have a kind of a weak game, but I wanted to cover because it was very interesting to me. Tennessee Tech is heading to Kansas in what should be an easy game for Kansas, but they were 30.5-point favorites in this one. There are many games I see Kansas favored by 30.5 points, guys. But let's look at Tennessee Tech. I mean, they do have the quarterback, Jeremiah Oatsball from Memphis. He's going into his 6th season, and he's a big plus. They do have David Giss and Quentin Cross, who are pretty good in the Ohio Valley Conference, and that conference will be stronger. The Golden Eagles, they're pretty good at controlling the clock, and they do have a good defense to help get by, but it's not that good, really. We can call a spade a spade. Kansas is clearly the better team. Last year, Tennessee Tech, they only scored more than 28 points once, and their pass rush isn't that good. Kansas has a really good offensive line. They have a good linebacking core, and they just have a much better team than most years that can actually be legit in the Big 12. So looking at this game, I know Kansas is clearly a better team, but I saw that line at 30.5, and I had to take Tennessee Tech. Kansas, look, I can't take Kansas on a line more than 20 points in this game. I can't. And you're giving me 30.5 points? Now, I said that with New Mexico State, and Minnesota ran up the score on them, and New Mexico State didn't score a single point. But this is Kansas, guys. They'll find a way to make this somewhat close. They're not that good, guys. So I'm not going to bank on it because, of course, it's Tennessee Tech. But I got to take Tennessee Tech in the points. Tennessee Tech plus 30.5, average pick, guys. I'm not going to, obviously, this is not going to be a money pick for me, but Kansas is not that good, guys. You can't take Kansas by more than 30 points. You get out of your mind. I'll be honest. Next up, we have a Big Ten matchup. It's going to be on Fox Sports 1. It's Illinois, who won against Wyoming by a lot of points, versus Indiana, who is only 1.5-point favorite. So this is nearly a pick-em right now. Indiana before was 4 or 5-point favorites. The lines dropped down. Some money came in on Illinois there to cover. So why will Illinois win? Well, first, why could Illinois win? First, I mean, Indiana's offense stinks. Their running game was horrible, and their pass game struggled. And also, really, their offensive line was so horrible. So if they probably won't get protection on the quarterback. And also, their defense wasn't that good. Everything really didn't work for Indiana last year in their 2-10 season. They were allowing just over 33 points a game, and it's going to have to take some work. And Illinois secondary is a good group of veterans. They have an improved passing rush who played really good against Wyoming and only held it to just 30 yards. But I'll be honest, Wyoming's just trash. So yeah, I don't make much of that. But, I mean, it was something. They won 38-6 against an FBS team, if you call Wyoming an FBS team. So really, if the Illinois offense can really grind out and control that clock, that line should be able to really handle that Indiana defensive front, and the defense should be able to take care of the rest. Now, for why Indiana could possibly win, I mean, the Illinois offense isn't that good. Tommy DeVito's interesting, but he didn't really have to do much. In Indiana, they kind of have to load up against the run because they're going up against Chase Brown, who's a really good running back. So dare Tommy DeVito to do something because he didn't have many passes over 10 yards. And a lot of his yards came up after the catch. And also they have the D-tackle, J.H. Tevis. They have Miles Jackson. And they have Ladarius Cox from Ole Miss. That should be big improvements. And offensively, they have Sean Shivers and Josh Henderson, who's from North Carolina. and that'll be a big impact for the running game where it needs help. And I think Indiana's going to be a lot better than people think. And Illinois is not that good, guys. They do have Chase Brown. I give that. But Indiana, they have some transfers coming in. They're pretty good. A lot of people are going to hit Illinois in this game because they saw that week 0 game and they thought, oh, man, Illinois is a great team. There's a reason why this line shot down. And, guys, Indiana's a home team. Indiana has that home stadium advantage. They're going to come out to prove a point because they're going to be upset that they finished 2-10 last year. If I finished 2-10 last year, I'd be out to prove a point. And this is a Big Ten game where they're going to be out to prove a point. They have a pretty decent team. And I think Illinois is just not that good, guys. The transfers are going to come and help with Sean Shivers and Josh Henderson, like I mentioned. And, guys, I just have that feeling, man. Indiana -1.5. Guys, everyone's banking on Illinois. I can tell the money's flowing there. I feel like Indiana is gonna fool everyone. They're gonna show out this game and win it. Next up, we have the last game I'm gonna cover today. It's TCU, who's 13.5-point favorites against Colorado. It's in Boulder, a Big 12, Pac-12 matchup. And looking at why TCU should win, I mean, they have an amazing offense. They have one of the better offenses in 2021 under Sonny Dykes. They're loaded at receiver. Max Duggan is a pretty good quarterback, and their balance should really be paramount. They have a good running game, and they have a veteran offensive line. And Colorado, they don't really have a passing rush. They've struggled to get to 20 points with the second worst offense in college football, and their transfer portal didn't really do much. Really. They do have JT Shrout coming out for torn ACL. And Brendan Lewis, I mean, he has to be better just straight up. Now, luckily for Colorado, why they could win, I mean, TCU's pass rush isn't that good. And their defense was horrible. Now, Colorado's offense, it ain't going to be no Ohio State, but the running game did come out with a revamped offensive line that's around Alabama transfer Tommy Brown. Again, the TCU receiving corps and their pass game should be great, but Colorado does have the defensive backs to really hold up, as it is their team's biggest strength, really. So this makes it kind of interesting. How good is TCU? Can they pull out? To me, this line's a bit too high for TCU, but I still think they're going to win big. But I can't put money pick to it. I just think they're going to be better on this day. I think Colorado's just not that good. They have a lot of work to do, and TCU's offense is just that good. Guys, I'm going to take TCU -13.5, but I can't make it a money pick. I'm going to have to make it an average pick. This is kind of scary. This line is a bit too high. If you put it at 9, I possibly would have took TCU in a money pick, but to me, this line, it's a bit too high for me to be confident in TCU in a week 1 matchup. I'm taking TCU -13.5 and making an average pick. So that's it for the slate. Let's just take a look at our recap. It'll be up on the screen and our all-time record. First, we have our money picks, which is Michigan State -20.5 and Virginia Tech -6. In our average picks, we have Duke -8.5, Tennessee Tech +30.5, Indiana -1.5, and TCU -13.5. So guys, if you liked what you saw, just like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all for tuning into this video. And as per usual, I'm Christopher Smithies, home to SAG. We'll be back with another video tomorrow for Saturday slate. I'll cover quite a few games, and they'll all be posted. Like, if you want to see a certain game, there's timestamps in there for you. And I hope you all have a fantastic day.